All right, I finally got all of the parts for this to show up. It's only been, well, too long because all the supply chains and everything are messed up from the COVID response. But now I have time to work on it. But since it's been so long, I have to clean up my garage and make space to work on it. Well, I don't know if you can tell or not, but a lot has happened. I got parts all over the place. Since I cleaned up the garage to start working on this, somebody came over and I forgot to hit record while I took all of this stuff apart. I got the carburetor out again to do a rebuild on it because it's leaking fuel from the bowl. But the carburetor rebuild kit that I got, this one from Western Power Sports, is not the one for this quad. The gasket looks different. As you can tell, this one has a straight part right there. And this one in here loops up in that part where it's straight. So that's not the one that I need. It also didn't have the size jets that I needed because it's the wrong carburetor. So what I'm trying to do is rejuvenate this gasket and make it work because the guy wants his quad back so he can take it to Wyoming. So I am soaking it in a little bit of Marvel Mystery Oil, and I'm hoping it's going to kind of refreshen that rubber so it'll seal long enough for him to go to Wyoming, and then he can bring it back when he's done, and we can make sure that we get the right gasket on order to get that done. What's happening on this quad is it's leaking out of these bolts. There's crush washers here. It looks like they doubled up on that crush washer. If somebody got into this before, I'm not sure. So what I'm trying to do is take this valve cover off so I can get in there and redo this gasket here with new gasket sealer or RTV Honda Bond. They also make a Suzuki Bond. But I want to take this whole thing off and then put it all back on with new gaskets and new washers for this one in the corner and this one up here, so it'll stop leaking oil. In order to do that though, there's a support brace that goes right here that has an engine mount on it. So you gotta take all of that off, and then you gotta take this cover off so you can turn the engine. All I'm trying to do is get the thing to top dead center so you know how to do it. And the way you work on all engines is to, when you take them apart, is to put cylinder 1 at top dead center. So whether it's a car or a motorcycle, this only has one cylinder. I'm just trying to put it at top dead center. But in order to do that, this is your viewport for it. Okay, I just wanted to show you why I had to go through all that effort. There's this mark on the case, this line right here. You need that to line up with that line. And it has a T on it, which means top dead center. So it's the whole reason I had to take that whole thing apart so everything could be in place for when I put it back together. The exhaust runs all right down this channel. You can see right here. So you gotta take all of that stuff off. I forgot to mention that I follow the practice where when you take a bolt out and remove the thing that you need to remove, you put the bolt back in where it belongs. So I have all the bolts sitting where they go. And if I can't put them or don't want to put them back in here, I put them back in the cover that they came out of. And then for things like valve covers, for the bolts that you need to remove, what I like to do is draw, if you can see this on camera, I like to draw a picture of where all the bolts go, and then I stick the bolts where they go on the picture, and then I know exactly where they go. Then I don't have to worry about the varying bolt lengths or trying to sink one in or putting a long bolt in a short hole or a short bolt in a long hole and causing problems in the future. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take these valve adjustment covers off, and I'm going to take that view port off so I can turn it to top dead center. Take this off, clean off the mating surfaces for the gasket, replace these, and torque these all back down to spec. So hopefully it won't take me too much longer. It's been about 4 or 5 hours so far, and doing an oil change because you have to drain the oil for it. And I'm gonna look up the spec for the valve. I'll adjust his valves for him. or make sure they're still in spec, and then throw the whole thing back together. And that should be it for this. Okay, so the important thing to remember when you're cleaning these is that they are mating surfaces and you don't want to scratch them up or you're gonna cause yourself problems. I'm just going to assemble this real quick. This uses an RTV. I'm using Honda Bond 4, and I'm going to torque them down to 6 to 8 Newton meters, according to the chart in the book that I'm using, and they get torqued down in the order of the picture. So I'm gonna apply this and then torque down all those bolts. You do it in 3 to 4 stages. The first thing you do is slowly tighten it on until the things start to grab. And then you start at a light torque. So if I'm torquing them to 6, I'll start at like 3 and then I'll go to 6, just as a heads up. And then we'll go back to another time lapse. We'll throw this thing together and make sure it still runs. Put the exhaust back on and all that other kind of nonsense. All right, I usually don't put everything back together until I've tested it, but in this case, you really can't put everything back together, or you really can't test it until you put everything back together. So here goes nothing. There we go. It's a good sign. Now the only thing to do is to wait and see if he tells me he has a problem still. It should be done. If you can tell right here, where some of the oil spilled, it's starting to smoke a little bit. So I think I'm gonna go ride this over to the car wash really quick and get it cleaned up. All right, let's get this thing cleaned up.